This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello and welcome to episode 363 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 1st of December 2025. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Howdy.
Graham.
Hello, ho, ho, ho.
And Will.
Hello.
Arduino recently was acquired by Qualcomm, and we talked about that. And now the terms of service have been updated, and people are worried.
Yeah, so the Arduino org updated their terms of service and privacy policy recently, and people went crawling through the words and found some pretty concerning comments about what you are and are not allowed to do with the platform, especially talking around things like decompiling and reverse engineering, which I think some people have sort of decided that that means you're not allowed to look at the source for what is supposedly an open source platform, and how that is quite disingenuous and disconnected from what they should be doing. I think there's a little bit of fear-mongering going on there, or a little bit of worry about things that aren't really going to happen. Like, I think this is a very corporate, like cookie-cutter policy that's just been copied and pasted over. Nobody really thought about it. Nevertheless, Adafruit have come out and said they're quite concerned. Should we be concerned about this? I don't know. The jury's out on that. I don't think I'm surprised that this happened, though.
They changed the terms of service and privacy policies. Adafruit put up a post on LinkedIn, of all places, kind of complaining about it. Then Arduino put up a blog post answering those concerns. And then Adafruit said, well, we're not fully satisfied by that. It seems to me that you're right, Will, it was just corporate cookie cutter type stuff. But then I think that Adafruit and the community do have some valid concerns.
I think so too, if for no other reason than they didn't give a shit about checking it or how the community might accept it when they did change it, or even that the community might be sensitive to changes.
Yeah.
It shows a lack of a properly collaborative attitude, at least in this, which I suspect we'll see more and more. They've not even reversed or explained. They're not being open and clear about their reasons for this. And I don't see things getting any better.
I don't think I would fully agree with that, because they did clarify that they're just talking about their software as a service platform.
Yeah, but it shows a lack of sensitivity about the community.
Absolutely, it does, yeah. I mean, it's basically the start of what everyone expected when they were acquired by Qualcomm.
So, do we think it is like the way the, inverted commas, new Microsoft is all about the open and the hearten Linux and all that shite that they go on with versus the very hardline business side? Do we think that the Qualcomm business side has, met the sort of hippiest side of Arduino and it's just going to take a while before the two merge together? Or do we think something's going to actually crush Arduino fully?
I think a better analogy is IBM and Red Hat.
Oh dear.
Yeah, exactly.
So Arduino's dead then.
Come on now. Red Hat is not dead. Red Hat has been influenced more by IBM than IBM has been influenced by Red Hat, let's say.
Assimilated.
Assimilated is one word for it, but no, I think it's more a case of when a company acquires another company, generally the bigger one has more influence over the smaller one. In rare cases, it can go the other way, and we kind of often hope it's going to go the other way, but then it inevitably doesn't. And I don't think that Arduino is going to be completely closed down as a platform and all the rest of it, but I just think that it's just not going to be quite as open as it once was. And the Red Hat analogy, I think, stands here because almost everything they do is still open source, isn't it? Even if it's a bit tricky to get that source code sometimes.
That also assumes that Arduino's making shitloads of money from just being Arduino and people buying into the Arduino platform. I don't think it is.
Phelim, you put in a couple of links. The Zig language moving from GitHub to Codeberg, and Dillo, the minimal browser, moving away from GitHub to sort of self-hosted stuff. the common factor here is migrating away from GitHub because it's got a bit shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we, as in Joe and I, are not massive fans of AI. Maybe there are two. I will allow them to voice their own opinion. But, you know, I think a lot of people have been kind of pissed off with the way GitHub sort of threw things up in the air and said, oh, yeah, well, it's just tough shit. Stay here or don't. And that was kind of what one of their managing guys said. So, yeah, I think there's a few projects and I hope it grows are maybe going in that direction. I think it's a bit shite that we've ended up with GitHub being a sort of de facto centralized hub of all these things. I think the less of these centralized services, the better. And yeah, I'm all for this.
Yes, but it is centralized. And Will, can you ever imagine using anything other than GitHub for your code?
I can. I mean, Git abstracts away the actual process of storing your code somewhere quite neatly, right? I could quite easily pull down all of my projects from GitHub, make a couple of changes and push them back somewhere else in exactly the same form with the same history very, very easily. So it's not a technical blocker, but I do think I get quite a lot of good things from GitHub. I think that their GitHub issues are pretty decent. I think the wiki that you get built in is pretty decent. I think the web hosting you get is pretty decent, but mainly the exposure that you get, like that is where people go to look for stuff. I think that is going to take a long time to change. So I guess I can imagine myself moving away from it. I don't think I'd move to something self-hosted, and the thing that I would want to move to would need to offer the same sorts of services that GitHub does for free.
What I liked about this is the fact that it wasn't the purely, oh, they now do AI and I don't like that. It was, I think their JavaScript on their homepage has gone a bit shit and the actions don't work as well as they used to. So there was technical reasons for this, which I found quite interesting. And, you know, I think maybe there's a place there for a decentralized but activity pub based system where, you know, your karma can kind of flow with you into various different projects or different repos or hosting engines, whatever you want to call it.
There's definitely a general slowdown in the performance of GitHub. Like they seem to be adding more and more JavaScript in there. And there are certainly annoyances, like the dates say things like last Wednesday instead of the exact date stamp and timestamp that a thing happened. And that's quite frustrating. There are lots of reasons that that something else could be at least as good. One day I will try them out. I mean, I'm starting to look at alternatives to Gmail, and I never thought that would happen. So who knows?
Oh, Jesus. I need to lie down.
I'm starting to think about maybe looking into alternatives to Google services, yes.
Oh God, my heart. I can't take it. Fetch my fainting couch.
Nothing lasts forever, does it? Especially on the internet. And GitHub being this massive central place where all source code lives, seemingly, maybe that's not going to last that much longer. I mean, I can't see it changing overnight, but I feel like there's a kind of slow drip of people moving away.
I think the one thing that would be a shame to lose would be the, not stats, but people have put work into projects. It would be a shame to lose that history of those projects. It would be nice that that gets archived away somewhere without it sort of being lost forever, sort of thing.
Yeah, my stars. I need to keep my stars, most people probably think.
Damn right you do.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by 1Password. Go to onepassword.com/late-night-linux. It's easy to assume that being small means flying under the radar, but the reality is that small businesses are being targeted more and more by bad actors. Cybercriminals know that lean teams often lack the resources to prevent or respond to a breach. 1Password provides simple security to help small teams manage the number one risk that bad actors exploit: weak passwords. 1Password is designed to meet small teams where they are, but it's also built to grow with your company. 1Password's Enterprise Password Manager helps your company improve security by identifying weak and compromised passwords and replacing them with strong, unique credentials. When I used to do IT support, I would often see people reusing passwords that ended up in multiple breaches. I wish I'd known about 1Password back then so I could have set them up with it. So take the first step to better security by securing your team's credentials. Find out more at onepassword.com/late-night-linux and start securing every login. Raspberry Pi have announced some price rises and also a new model of the Pi 5, which is the 1 gigabyte of RAM model, at $45. The price rises are because of the price of RAM, which has just gone up massively because of, you guessed it, AI bullshit. I think we talked about some price rises not that long ago, and we said at the time, well, at least they're being transparent about it. So fair play to them. But this 1 gig of RAM Raspberry Pi 5 seems like a bit of an odd product to release.
It feels a little bit unbalanced to me. Like the Pi 5 CPU and GPU are very powerful and can do a lot. And a gig of RAM to couple with that feels to me like it really limits the options of what you can use all of that horsepower for. So, yeah, I'm not an industrial computer person. Maybe that's what the real use cases will be for. But as a home user, it seems like a bit of a hard sell. So for the extra $25 to get the 4 gig version, I think that is probably a better idea for people like me.
See, I don't know, because if I was using a camera system, say, which is what one of my Pi 4s does, the other one is for the TV, I would use very little in the case of memory, but processing power to do conversions of the video formats and even the network transfer speed, etc. Actually, I could see use for that.
So does it not write it out to RAM at all then?
Well, it does, but I mean, you're only processing several hundred megs of a video chunk, because what I do is chunk it into 5-minute segments. Right. And you're not talking about DVDs here, or DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever, I don't know. High quality, it is of good quality, but it's not crazy quality, Right,
so even with the OS as well, you don't need more than 1 gig, are you sure?
100% sure. I have ones where I'm tracking all the planes. I am tracking hundreds of airplanes, say, on one of the planes, and that's running a Pi 3, and it has 512 megs of RAM, and I'm not even using half of the memory on that thing.
Right.
I think if you have a desktop, that's when your memory disappears really quick.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're doing, headless, utility computing, I think a gig is an awful lot of memory.
Well, once upon a time it was, yeah.
If you code as good as I do, I mean, please.
On my home server, now this is virtual memory, but let's talk about reserve memory. Home Assistant is using 897 meg. Frigga is using another 300 meg. And I did see Pi-hole in this list somewhere. Oh, here we go, 267 meg. So, yeah, that's already at least 2 or 3 gigs. So I think running as a home server with a few services is going to struggle. But yeah, if it was running a single task or a couple of tasks, I could believe it would just about work.
I suppose like 1 or 2 CPU intensive, RAM non-intensive tasks, maybe it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, the first thing I thought was industrial customers. Like that's the only real reason you would want that for embedded purposes or whatever. But then you'd think they'd be using the compute module rather than the standard form factor. But the customers must be there. They must have had it as a request. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, would they?
Yeah.
I think they know what they're doing at this point.
I mean, I can't say I haven't been excited, I suppose, by a Pi release for a while. And this is probably the least excited of any I've ever been. Maybe it protects them from RAM price fluctuations and that they'll always have like this minimum spec version that will be closest to the cost of what it costs to produce a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, maybe.
The economics don't make a lot of sense to me. 1 gig of RAM on a Raspberry Pi 5 costs $45. 16 gig costs $145. That's about 3 times the cost for 16 times the memory. So there's some weird RAM economies of scale happening in here. But I think that the 16 gig version represents better value for money.
Well, yeah, as you'd expect, really. I think that you've got to have a very specific use case in mind for this to make sense. If you want any sort of general purpose, running a shitload of containers or whatever, or even running, 4, 5, 6 containers, why not just chuck 16 gigs of RAM at it? Like, you're not going to ever regret having more RAM than you need, are you? Unless power consumption is the most important thing to you.
Yeah, but then you're in the realm of better computers to do the job.
Exactly. Yeah. N100, N150, little mini PCs, or even repurposed old 7th gen, dirt cheap, small form factor PCs.
That's an interesting comparison to draw. If I look at the mini PC that I bought, whenever it was, 6 months ago, the price has gone up from about £140 up to £180 now. And it's been a steady increase since the lows of September right up to now. So I think the mini PC market is seeing an increase in costs as well, maybe even by a similar sort of ratio. So maybe those mini PCs aren't quite as good value as they once were.
I don't know. You can get one with 16 gigs of RAM, 512 of storage, and an N100 processor for 160 quid. I think you've got to just look hard and find the right deal at the right time. Like, it can vary hour by hour sometimes, but I don't think they've gone up massively yet. But with this RAM thing, then maybe they will.
Well, I have a couple of pals who bought new computers, and the price of memory from about 3 months ago to now is exactly double.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst possible time to build a new computer.
And then a couple of years ago, it was the worst possible time to build a new computer because GPUs were too expensive. So what's next?
And before that, storage, because of fucking Chia. Like, you just can't win, can you? You just got to buy the components piecemeal, I suppose.
A massive PCB starts soldering in your oven. Hey, let's do it.
Yep, exactly. Great news for Till and OpenPrinting. We talked about this, must be 5 months ago, something like that. He was no longer working at Canonical, having worked there for nearly 20 years, and it was looking really a bit shit. But now, the Sovereign Tech Agency, which is part of the German government, have agreed to kind of just keep paying him what he was getting paid before. Meanwhile, he's still trying to get OpenPrinting to be part of the Linux Foundation, which would be kind of good long-term for it. But yeah, I kind of hoped this would happen, and sure enough, it has happened. So well done, Till.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you say that, seeing as both you and apparently Graham from Late Night Linux were the only ones to give him support. So I think me and Will form Libre Printing. It's fucking on now, Till, you prick. I joke.
Yes, in the long list of people who are thanked, me and Graham get a shout out, but not you two. Oh, well.
What a bastard.
But anyway, yes, this is excellent because, like we said at the time, the work that Till does is thankless, isn't it? Like, he makes printers just work. And, it's not glamorous. It's not exciting. You don't want it to be exciting. You want it to be boring. You want to go buy a printer, plug it in, and start printing. And thanks to him, I can do that with Ubuntu. And I want to be able to keep doing that for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's proper thankless work. The only time that people notice it is when it doesn't work. And what a shitty place to be.
Yep.
And I think it's worth noting that we've got to keep this in mind because the contract will be up for renewal again at some point. Hopefully it will be renewed, but we've got to keep OpenPrinting in people's mind and Till's work in particular in people's mind. Hopefully you can get, ongoing support.
Yeah, here's hoping. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is an easy-to-deploy zero-config VPN that allows you to build simple networks across complex infrastructure. Sign up, install Tailscale on the devices you want to connect, and you can get going in a few minutes. Whether you want to connect back to your home LAN while traveling, send backups to a friend's house, or securely access your Kubernetes cluster, Tailscale combines the power of WireGuard with simple installation and configuration for a seamless experience. Tailscale's personal plan is free forever. You'll get up to 100 devices and 3 users at no cost with no credit card required. So support the show and try Tailscale for free today at tailscale.com/LNL. If you'd like to bring Tailscale to work, use code LATENIGHTLINUX for 3 free months of any paid plan. Thousands of companies have already made the switch. That's code LATENIGHTLINUX. Preserving code that shaped generations, Zork 1, 2, and 3 go open source, according to opensource.microsoft.com. Now, you lot are old. You probably care about this, I thought.
I do care about this. These games, Zork 1 and 2 and 3, blew my brain wide open when I first played them. My first computer came with Adventure, the original kind of classic colossal cave text adventure game. And then when I got a floppy disk drive for my Commodore 64, it came with Zork 1, 2 and 3 and 3 Infocom games. And, at a time when graphics were really shitty, I mean, they were great and there's still a lot of character and personality to them, but nothing compared to your imagination. I've still got, I can't remember what happened this morning, but I can remember the post box with the letter in it and the house up the pathway and how it felt to be in the dark when the grue got you. They were so amazingly well done. And so, it's funny that Phelim just said it's important that we, maintain some Git history for some of the projects that might be moving to Codeberg. These are archives and artifacts of computer science, and I think they'll stand the test of time, and it's really important that they've been licensed MIT. And give them a go. I haven't played them for a few years, but in the last 5 or 6 years, a friend and I, just through our informal chat, completed a few of the games we never got to finish. And instead of, discussing what the weather was like, we just played an Infocom game in a messenger app. So they're definitely worth giving a go.
I don't think I've ever played any of the Zork games, funnily.
I think, now I'm doing this from memory, but as I remember, the Zork 1, 2 and 3 were developed to be one single huge game by Infocom.
Oh, nice.
And then some smart person at the company decided that, look, we can make 3 times as much money by splitting them into 3 games. But to be fair, I mean, I really struggled with 1, 2 and 3, so I never felt like I was shortchanged.
I remember the frustration as a kid playing one of the ones that I had on the BBC that came in the pack of when I bought it secondhand.
Was it Sphinx? Was it something to do with the Sphinx?
I don't know. There was a mine. I was walking down a mine and then you get bitten by a snake and it's like you're meant to light the lantern. I didn't even know I had a fucking lantern. I didn't know I had any way to light the lantern. What the fuck is this game? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there was no hand-holding. I think that's probably Colossal Cave.
Ah, maybe.
Yeah, and random mazes as well. They were the things that really cursed me. So even if you did map out the directions you were taking in a maze, the truth is that they were randomly being generated in the background. So you'd never know. You just had to persist.
Absolute bastards. Yeah. I remember I did okay with my elite status, but I took the file over to my pal's house from school and it didn't load because it was obviously procedurally generated and his galaxy was different than mine. I was like, oh, fuck's sake.
The closest thing to this that I ever played was Leisure Suit Larry, which was sort of not quite a text adventure because it did have graphics, but it was heavily text-based.
Was it the just about graphics that it had back then, like really stickman sort of look to it?
Yeah.
Oh, they were pretty good for the time, weren't they?
Oh, I know they were. I know, but there was. I loved the Police Quest games, but Police Quest 3, I think, got really big shoes for itself and looked a bit more or less like a, the really old early ones, like, what was the one where you're in space as a janitor?
What, Space Quest?
Oh, Space Quest. That's it. Yeah, well, it was from the same people. So there was a Police Quest, but the first 2 Police Quests were that sort of style, but then it went kind of like fancy, but not quite dithered graphics, and then it got really fancy later on.
Yeah. They were scans, weren't they? I mean, I think I mentioned this when we talked about the Pixel Fold phones that Joe and I have both got, but I've had a lot of fun playing Scum VM on those things. It's been great redoing Monkey Island on the folded screen when I'm stuck waiting for a train or something.
Actually slightly jealous of that now that I think about it. But I won't admit it out loud.
Right, Phelim, prepare yourself. My fold is slightly broken.
Oh! What happened?
It's not the outside screen and it's not the inside screen. It stopped recognizing my SIM card.
Oh.
Ooh, fucking hell.
Slowly but surely. And so I had to get an eSIM and now that's absolutely fine. Although I did find a thread on Reddit where someone said that means that it's about to completely die. So.
Oh, shit.
But I did put the IEMI or whatever it is into the Google thing and it's under warranty until February. So
Oh,
If it completely dies before then I'll be fine. Even though it's secondhand, it's the device that's got the warranty.
Wow, nice. So really what you wanted to do now is actually fail immediately then.
Yeah, and maybe they'll give me a 10.
Who knows? Like pop to Heathrow, pop it into the X-ray machine about 50 times. Maybe that'll do it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I mean, I just saw that you can click on the warranty thing in the settings page and you can mail it in. Because mine was secondhand on eBay, but hadn't even been turned on. So I was able to, as soon as I turned it on, the warranty started from whenever it was, August this year.
Oh, wow.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
So you're sorted against anything like this then?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't really want to have to deal with it now, but if it breaks before February completely or severely, then hopefully I'll be all right. I should make a note of the IEMI, shouldn't I?
Whose OnePlus 3T's starting to look pretty good right now? What uptime? Such long life.
No, my Pixel 7 is starting to look nice, given that I never wiped it and I keep updating it every month, so I can just switch back to that, no problem.
Updates. Mine is perfect. It doesn't need them anymore.
Yeah, it's complete.
Every time I'm near people, I put it in a Faraday cage just in case.
Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when who knows what it'll be. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelan.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.